what in the world, what do we do? So, okay, stay tuned. I'll let you know, Commissioner Bennett.
I got a couple more things that my mind just remembered.
Oh.
We had an AMC meeting on Friday, board meeting, and Commissioner Ortega and myself were there. We have a new executive director. Board ratified with a couple little changes in the contract. Jeff Sparks. Jeff Sparks will be the new executive director. And then also we had a presentation from Colonel O'Reilly, that's trying to remember her name, from the Guard, requesting that AMC recommend that all counties get involved in the Yellow Ribbon Program. The board voted unanimously to recommend to all counties that all counties take a look at it and possibly get involved into the Yellow Ribbon Program, which is the welcoming home assisting of veterans as they come back from service overseas. And I think the discussion, Commissioner Ortega helped me out, was a lot around the veteran service officer and the counties that have it are the ones that have been the key persons, because it fits right in with some of the things they're doing.
Okay. Did you have anything else, Commissioner Parker? Commissioner Rettman?
Oh,
you had your hand up.
I'm just going to do about 3 things. Jim, Commissioner McDonough and I both attended the child care provider dinner, albeit he made it there and I just made it under the wire, but in time to be there. On behalf of the county board, we all gave them great kudos, and as always, there's lots and lots of love that goes into all those child care. People who literally, do a magnificent job of all that they do for the children. So we were both there, and but people missed y'all being there, because there's been some times that all of us have been there, and then so they only had us. So we tried to compensate very well for y'all.
A couple of us wouldn't have wanted. They wouldn't have wanted.
I know. You wrote me a note saying you didn't want to share your coughing.
And there's another one sitting up there.
Actually, I was in Seattle, so but it is one that is.
It's a special one.
It really
we all go to. And secondly, Frogtown CDC, which is the Community Development Corporation, celebrated with the Commissioner of Health and Rob Fulton and I the Lead Week. And the Teddy Bear Band was there, and probably about 150 children easily. There was a window on display there that had just been taken out of a home near where the event was being held that still had lead in it. And so, the commitment to continuing. And we recognized Jim Yanarelli, and we sort of did a little takeoff on hit the road, Jack, but instead get the lead out, Jim. And so we did this whole thing. Yes, it was my idea. We needed to recognize Jim Yanarelli because he's done this from day one. He and I actually worked on it way back in the city council days when we wrote the first grant to get a little bit of it, and now a little bit of dollars to do that. Council President Bill Wilson at that time also was working on chelation and making sure that those services were available to children. And now we have it down so dramatically, and last week we just briefly talked on the lead. But Ramsey County has done a magnificent job, and the Commissioner of Health gave us great kudos for doing that. And finally, yes. Yes. I
understand that we have been doing a great job, but I also when people are trying to get information on it, it's difficult to figure out where services are.
Public health.
Okay.
Well, you want Jim Yanarelli's number?
No, it's just
Yeah.
people going to the website. I had a couple of folks call
the
me, and I
website.
tried to get the information, and they were having trouble finding it, so.
And what has also happened in the city of St. Paul, and as you know, with our new 4R program, if any of the properties that go under the 4R program have lead, we will be taking that out and putting in new windows or getting rid of any lead-based paint, things like this. The one thing that's interesting is that if it's not on the website, it should be. And I saw Heather take a note on that. And I'm sure that'll be her first item of business. But I believe that if you go to the public health site, there is a lot of information there, or there used to be, but I must confess I haven't checked it in a couple of 3 months. So, and the city of St. Paul has worked collaboratively, because St. Paul Ramsey Public Health works collaborative on any of the work being done, also in the city of St. Paul, on doing the lead testing. As you may or may not recall, in the Summit University area, they did all, the St. Paul Public Health, or Ramsey County St. Paul Public Health did all of the testing for the properties there. And literally, lead is found everywhere, but there's a difference if you have something that is painted and there's no cracking, that's different. But if it's cracking and there's chips or dust or anything like that, that's when it becomes a problem. So I just wanted to share with you that Ramsey County got extreme kudos, but we also had a great time. The children had a great time. The families had a great time. And it was perfect weather, so it was just a really, really, really nice time for the children. But they were telling their parents to get the lead out, and that was sort of cool. And I'm sure I'll get letters on that. The final thing I'd just like to mention is Commissioner Bennett just mentioned the yellow ribbon. And there's a colonel that I've been in touch with on that. But there's also a program. Huh?
I said this would be just the perfect program.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've even got one of the buttons already. Anyway, but there is also a MACV program, which actually I think I've mentioned a couple of other times. It's the Council for Veterans. And I went to an event that they had, which is literally doing phenomenal jobs and services and housing for veterans, and have a good working relationship. And they've been working with the county on a couple of things. And so, you know, there's a lot of neat things going on with that, but they also raise money to make sure that returning veterans do indeed have the services that are needed, because we should be honoring them all. And I'll have more details on that within the next couple of weeks.
One thing that is somewhat related to that is last night I had the opportunity to tour before it's open, obviously, the sports center in Vadnais Heights. And one of the home teams there is going to be the Minnesota Warriors, and that is disabled veterans, and their hockey team, and some are on sleds, and depending on what their level of disability is, they have different options. And they had been looking for a home, and they were able to make the accommodations because of it being in the process of being built. They were able to add in some things that made it easier for sleds, for example, to get onto the ice. And so it was a very impressive facility, and a lot of work and planning has gone in. But that was one of the things that they brought up that was, I thought, very cool. So, Commissioner Ortega, we'll just go around the table.
Well, just not to overdo it here, but the program that Tony and Janice was talking about, Under the Yellow Ribbon is the name of the program. And I don't know how extensively we're involved in that. I was going to forward the information to Maria. I don't know if you folks already have. To me.
I have it. I have some, but...
Okay, but I'm going to forward it to Maria and just tell her, because what's different about this program is that it's not a, words to come, it's not formal but informal. It's not just hard services, but it's also soft services. It's, it's just how do we create a network that where a whole community, not just government, not just Veterans Affairs, but they want to network churches, neighborhoods. There's no configuration, or if you got a group of 10 folks, that's fine, an organization. And the point is that that as we connect, or our service folks come home, that there are eyes and ears out there paying attention to what they may need, and then you sort of connected to provide that service. It might not always be housing. They might have housing. They might not be in need of cash. It might be in need of other services that are not as easy to go out and reach out for them. So it sounded like a great program, and Washington County really seems to have taken the lead on this in terms of connecting the whole community, not just the Veterans Affairs Service. So those are very discrete, hard services versus the vision they got of a broad, community awareness of service people and making sure to help them connect.
Madam Chair, if I may, because I just remembered a couple of the examples that they gave. One was one of the veterans' refrigerators went out. 2 hours later, they were able to, and not through government sources, contact their network. And somebody had a refrigerator that they had just traded in that was working perfectly, and it was delivered and put in place. Another example is when people are away with the season that's coming up that has that white stuff that needs shoveling or grass cutting when they're away. Things like that. This is not so that nobody gets misunderstands. It's not looking to get more government services, paid for government services. It's connecting the networks together so that they've got lots of donors and just ideas for people to do.
It's a way to give back to the community.
The other thing is we had a meeting of the Gateway Corridor, and basically we're moving ahead with the alternative analysis, and we've had presentations by MnDOT on highway, study on highway congestion, and so all the pieces are coming together. So we're really now into details of nuts and bolts, boring stuff in a way. But that's where we are with that. And then the Central Corridor, Tony was there, and you could comment on that. Tori, it was a pretty much standard meeting. Again, it's moving along with the nuts and bolts, detail stuff.
No additional comment. Commissioner McDonough?
I'll just report on one thing. Last week we got notified that our application that we put in jointly with Hennepin, Ramsey, St. Paul, Minneapolis, Minnesota Housing Finance Agency through the Met Council for a HUD Sustainability Grant was successful. It was a lot of work for us to come together. There was $100 million available for planning and some implementation. Our application and the application from Salt Lake City were the only two applications that got the maximum amount of $5 million for their communities. It was interesting. I was at the large urban county caucus meeting Thursday and Friday last week, and on Thursday I gave a presentation on our corridor of opportunity and our grant to large urban county caucus. Thursday afternoon, the announcements came out, and then Friday morning, I was moderating a panel with HUD, DOT, EPA on this sustainable community stuff, and the feedback from those three organizations on the quality of our application was really, really good. So we'll be having meetings now with everybody to start moving forward on the implementation. There's a lot of components to that. One of the components is to prepare the corridor for potential business and private dollar investment by doing a corridor-wide stormwater analysis so that those properties are taken care of corridor-wide